Okay, we're rolling and action.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. What's your background?
Yeah, so my name's Mark McKinney. I'm originally from Pasadena, California, which is a city outside of Los Angeles, downtown Los Angeles. And so I grew up in a pretty entrepreneurial household where my dad started like 4 to 5 different businesses, and my mom recently just started her own about 5 years ago. So I've always really wanted to work within an entrepreneurial or startup environment, especially with tech in Silicon Valley. So I thought Twitter would be a great place to start that journey.
What is the organization you work with and what do they do?
So I work with Twitter Incorporated, which is a social media company based out of San Francisco, California. And they specifically are a microblogging platform. And for its users, all you do is just you can post updates on your life from the projects you work on, anything that's inspiring you, someone you want to collaborate with. It's a great way to just kind of share with the world with what you're trying to do with your life. And you have to combine it all into 240 characters.
Why did you decide to work with this organization?
So I chose to work with Twitter not just because it's a massive tech company based out of Silicon Valley, but because of its very eclectic community, which makes it really fun and interesting to work with. One of the coolest things about Twitter is the fact that, for example, my Twitter feed has a ton of different topics that it's comprised of, from Formula One racing to rowing to stock twit tips to inspirational quotes to photography tips and tricks. All that's made possible by the 330 million plus people on our platform. And so I really wanted to contribute to such a project.
What do you feel is the most important thing for viewers to know about your organization?
So in that similar vein of a very eclectic community, it's really important to understand that Twitter is a fantastic networking tool. So regardless of what you're trying to accomplish in your life, whether it be from trying to start your own business, to raising sales, to trying to figure out who you should collaborate with for your next big project, you can find a mentor, you can find a support group, you can find someone or develop a following that will help you or project you into your next goal or achievement you want to achieve.
Thank you for talking to us today.
Thank you.
Okay, we're still rolling, so Coach, give him some advice.
You did good eye contact. I felt like you talked a little fast, but other than that, I think a couple times you looked away too.
I definitely looked in the camera like twice.
But for the majority of it, you were good eye contact.
Okay, you did have good eye contact. Remember, that last question is not a throwaway, which is thank you for being here. That is you kind of saying goodbye to the audience, which is him. In other words, we're kind of sitting here watching you interact. So finish that strong as a closing. Well, thank you for being here. You're talking to him.
Okay.
The other thing, and this is a very common thing that happens in interviews, is you actually added words to the beginning of every answer, which is you started with, so, I do this, cut off those little words. So instead of saying, so, I think the most important thing to know is, the most important thing to know. So the good thing is after he answers or asks his question, just pause for a second, and that'll allow you to kind of make sure you're starting on that right word and you're not just impulsively kind of adding an extra word.
So you just directly answer it without,
Right.
Okay.
Right. So you did a good job. You had good gestures. You had good emphasis. You had good pacing. I do think you need to slow down about 5%.
Okay.
Especially toward the end, you kind of sped up a little bit. So, all right, let's do it again. Still rolling. Action.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. What's your background?
My name is Mark McKinney. I'm originally from Pasadena, California, which is a city outside of downtown Los Angeles. I grew up in a really entrepreneurial household. So my dad started like 4 to 5 of his own businesses, and my mom recently started her own business around 5 years ago. And so I really wanted to work in that similar environment of entrepreneurship or in a startup environment, especially with tech. And so that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to work with Twitter Incorporated.
What is the organization you work with and what do they do?
Twitter is a social media platform based out of San Francisco, California. And so more specifically, they are a microblogging platform. And so that means for users, they can share updates of what they're working on, where they're at, what they like to do, anything that's inspiring them. They can share that as long as it's within 240 characters.
Why did you decide to work with this organization?
I decided to work with Twitter not just because it's a massive tech company based out of Silicon Valley, but because of its very eclectic community, which makes it really fun and interesting to work with. One of the great things about Twitter is the fact that it has 330 million people on the platform, so you can always find something to develop your interest in or find a completely new hobby to get interested in. For example, my Twitter feed has a ton of different topics from Formula One racing all the way to photography tips to inspirational quotes. All of that is possible through Twitter. And that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to contribute to that project.
What do you feel is the most important thing for viewers to know about your organization?
The most important thing about Twitter, because of its very eclectic community, is the fact that it's a fantastic networking tool. It's very powerful in that light. Regardless of what you're trying to accomplish with your life, whether it be trying to start your own business, or trying to find someone to collaborate with on a new project, or you're just trying to find a new skill to start honing, it's a fantastic way to find a new mentor, a support group, or develop a following to help you project you into whatever you're trying to accomplish in life.
Thank you for talking to us today.
Thank you for having me on.